One of the current and most popular approaches to leadership that has been the focus of much research since the early 1980s is transformational leadership. Transformational leadership is part of the new leadership paradigm, which focuses on the charismatic and effective elements of leadership. Transformational leadership's popularity might be due to its emphasis on intrinsic motivation and follower development, which fits the needs of today's work groups who want to be inspired and empowered to succeed in times of uncertainty. As its name applies, transformational leadership is a process that changes and transforms people. Although the transformational leader plays a pivotal role in precipitating change, followers and leaders are intrinsically bound together in the transformation process. Transformational leadership focuses heavily on the relationship between the leader and the follower. There are two types of leadership: transactional and transformational. Transactional leadership refers to the bulk of leadership models which focus on the exchanges that occur between leaders and followers. Transformational leaders, on the other hand, engage with others and create a connection that raises the level of motivation and morality in both the leader and the follower. The word charisma was first used to describe a special gift that certain individuals possessed that gives them the capacity to do extraordinary things. Personality characteristics of a charismatic leaders include being dominant, having a strong desire to influence others, being self-confident, and having a strong sense of one's own moral values. In addition to displaying certain personality characteristics, charismatic leaders demonstrate specific types of behaviors. First, they're strong role models for the beliefs and values they want followers to adopt. Second, charismatic leaders appear to be competent to followers. They articulate ideological goals and have moral overtones. They also communicate high expectations and exhibit confidence in followers' ability to meet those expectations. Charismatic leaders arouse task-relevant motives in followers that may include affiliation, power, or esteem. According to the theory, several effects are the direct results of charismatic leadership. They include follower trust in the leader's ideology, similarity between the follower's belief and the leader's beliefs, unquestioning acceptance of the leader, expression of affection towards the leader, follower obedience, identification with the leader, and emotional involvement in the leader's goals. In summary, charismatic leadership works because it ties followers and their self-concepts to the organization's identity. The model of transformational and transactional leadership incorporates 7 different factors. You can see those factors here. In transformational leadership, charisma, inspiration, stimulation, and an individualized approach is emphasized, while transactional leadership includes rewards and exceptions, and laissez-faire leadership is non-transactional. So this model of transformational leadership breaks our discussion into 3 parts: the transformational factors, the transactional factors, and the non-leadership factor. Transformational leadership is concerned with improving the performance of followers and developing followers to their fullest potential. People who want to exhibit transformational leadership often have a strong set of internal values and ideals. They are effective at motivating followers to act in ways that support the greater good rather than their own self-interests. Idealized influence describes leaders who act as strong role models for followers. Followers identify with these leaders and want very much to emulate them. The idealized influence factor is measured on 2 components. First, an attributional component that refers to the attributions of leaders made by followers based on perceptions they have of their leaders, and a behavioral component that refers to followers' observations of leader behavior. Inspiration is descriptive of leaders who communicate high expectations to followers, inspiring them through motivation to become committed to and part of the shared vision of the organization. Intellectual stimulation includes leadership that stimulates followers to be creative and innovative and challenge their own beliefs and values, as well as those of the leader, as well as the organization. Individualized consideration is representative of leaders who provide a supportive climate in which they listen carefully to the individual needs of followers. Transformational leadership has an additive effect. It moves followers to accomplish more than what is usually expected of them. Transformational leaders can propel followers to even greater levels of success when they have high quality relationship based on trust, loyalty, and mutual respect. Transactional leaders exchange things of value with followers to advance their own and followers' agendas. Transactional leaders are influential because it's in the best interest of followers for them to do what the leader wants. Factor 5, contingent reward, is the first of two transactional leadership factors. It's an exchange process between leaders and followers in which effort by followers is exchanged for specified rewards. Factor 6 is called management by exception. It's the leadership that involves corrective criticism, negative feedback, and negative reinforcement. In essence, both the active and passive management types are more negative reinforcement patterns. In the model, the non-leadership factor diverges farther from the transactional leadership and represents behaviors that are non-transactional. This factor represents the absence of leadership. As the French phrase implies, the laissez-faire leader takes a hands-off, let things ride, non-transactional approach. While the laissez-faire leadership has traditionally been viewed negatively, recent research argues that laissez-faire leadership may not be the absence of leadership. Instead, it may be a strategic behavioral choice of the leader to acknowledge and defer to followers' abilities, decrease their dependency, and increase their self-determination, competence, and autonomy. In this case, the leader would be strategically performing laissez-faire leadership by empowering leaders to lead. Increasingly, leadership does not indicate that leaders may be most effective when they combine transformational leadership behaviors with elements of laissez-faire and transactional leadership. This reiterates what most of leadership theories suggest. All approaches to leadership have strengths and weaknesses. Researchers have contributed in unique ways to our understanding of the nature of transformational leadership. These scholars identified a number of middle or senior level leaders and conducted interviews with them using open-ended, semi-structured questionnaires. Researchers asked 90 leaders basic questions such as, what are your strengths and weaknesses? What past events have influenced your leadership approach? And what are the critical points in your career? They found some interesting information about transformational leadership. First, transforming leaders had a clear vision of the future state of their organization. It was an image of an attractive, realistic, and believable future. Second, transformational leaders were social architects for their organization. This means they created a shape or form for the shared meanings people maintain within the organization. Third, transformational leaders created trust in their organizations by making their own positions clearly known and then standing by them. Fourth, transforming leaders used creative deployment of self through positive self-regard. The model was developed by interviewing more than 1,300 middle and senior level managers in private and public sector organizations and asked them to describe their personal best experiences as leaders. The model consists of 5 fundamental practices that enables leaders to get extraordinary things accomplished: model the way, inspire a shared vision, challenge the process, enable others to act, and encourage the heart. To model the way, leaders need to be clear about their own values and philosophy. They need to find their own voice and express it to others. Effective leaders create compelling visions that can guide people's behaviors. They're able to visualize positive outcomes in the future and communicate them to others. Challenging the process means being willing to change the status quo and step into the unknown. It includes being willing to innovate, grow, and improve. Outstanding leaders are effective at working with people. They build trust with others and promote collaboration. Leaders encourage the heart by rewarding others for their accomplishments. It's natural for people to want support and recognition. Overall, the model emphasizes behaviors and has a perspective quality. It recommends what people need to do in order to become effective leaders. It's been widely used in leadership training and development. In general, it describes how leaders can initiate, develop, and carry out significant changes in organizations. Transformational leaders set out to empower followers and nurture them in change. They attempt to raise the conscientiousness in individuals and get them to transcend their own self-interests for the sake of others. To create change, transformational leaders become strong role models for their followers. They have a highly developed set of moral values and a self-determined sense of identity. They listen to followers and are not intolerant of opposing viewpoints. A spirit of cooperation often develops between these leaders and their followers. It is common for transformational leaders to create a vision. The vision emerges from collective interests of various individuals and units in the organization. The transformational approach also requires that leaders become social architects. This means that they make a clear, emerging values and norms of the organizations apparent. Throughout the process, transformational leaders are effective at working with people. In its present stage of development, the transformational approach has several important strengths. First, transformational leadership has been widely researched from many different perspectives, including a series of qualitative studies of prominent leaders and CEOs in large and well-known organizations. The transformational perspective describes how the leader is out front advocating change for others. This concept is consistent with society's popular notion of what leadership means. Because this process incorporates both the followers and the leader's needs, leadership is not the sole responsibility of the leader, but rather emerges from the interplay between leaders and followers. The transformational approach provides an expanded picture of leadership that includes not only the exchange of rewards, but also leaders' attention to the needs and growth of followers. This emphasis sets the transformational approach apart from all other approaches to leadership because it suggests that leadership has a moral dimension. In studies using interviews and observations, transformational leadership was shown to be effective in a variety of different situations. Despite its many strengths, transformational leadership has several weaknesses that we need to talk about. Transformational leadership covers a wide range of activities and characteristics, including creating a vision, motivating, being a change agent, building trust, giving, nurturing, and acting as a social architect, just to name a few. In some of the versions of MQL, the 4 factors of transformational leadership correlate highly with each other, which means they're not distinct factors. Third criticism is that transformational leadership treats leadership as a personality trait or personal predisposition rather than a behavior that people can learn. Fourth, researchers have not established that transformational leaderships are actually able to transform individuals and organizations. Some have even argued that transformational leadership is elitist. Transformational leaders often play a direct role in creating changes, establishing a vision, and advocating new direction. This gives the strong impression that the leader is acting independently of followers or putting himself or herself above the followers' needs. Transformational leadership stresses that it's the leader who moves followers to do exceptional things. By focusing primarily on the leader, researchers have failed to give attention to shared leadership or reciprocal influence. If the values to which the leader is moving his or her followers are not better, and if a set of human values is not more redeeming, then the leadership must be challenged. A final potential weakness of transformational leadership is the fact that it may not be well received by millennials. Transformational leadership does not provide clear assumptions about how leaders should act in a particular situation to be successful. Rather, it provides a general way of thinking about leadership that emphasizes ideals, inspiration, innovation, and individual concern. It's been suggested that transformational leadership can be taught to people at all levels in an organization and that it can positively affect an organization's performance. Programs designed to develop transformational leadership usually require that leaders or their associates take the MLQ or a similar questionnaire to determine leaders' particular strengths and weaknesses in transformational leadership. One particular aspect of transformational leadership that's been given special emphasis in training programs is the process of building a vision. Overall, transformational leadership provides leaders with information about a full range of their behaviors. Transformational leadership is concerned with the process of how certain leaders are able to inspire followers to accomplish great things. This approach stresses that leaders need to understand and adapt to the needs and motives of followers. Transformational leadership emerged and has been rooted in the writings of Burns in 1978 and Bass in 1985. Transformational leadership can be assessed through the multi-factor leadership questionnaire known as the MLQ. Transformational leadership strengths include being popular among researchers, a strong intuitive appeal, emphasizes importance of followers. It includes the growth of followers and places an emphasis on morals and values. Criticisms include its lack of conceptual clarity. The MLQ has been challenged by some research. The theory implies that leadership has a trait-like quality. Sometimes it's seen as elitist, and it has the potential to be used in negative ways. Despite these weaknesses, transformational leadership appears to be a valuable and widely used approach to leadership.